you hilariously asked me at the beginning of the lesson whether I was bored of Daydreaming by Radiohead. And then you clarified, are you bored of analyzing it?
Yeah, I mean, you can only don't you sometimes just want to listen to music and just enjoy it and not like, oh, I wonder how I can play that.
This is who you're talking to, Josh.
Yeah,
You're
I
talking.
guess you're not.
No, you know what? It's true. It's true. I'm not like a robot that just always wants to figure out how to play everything.
Oh, you want? Oh, okay, cool.
I am not. Believe it or not, I need sleep. I need to eat and drink water. You know. But yeah, there are times when I don't want to figure out how to play music. For sure, I get a little bit of fatigue on that. I haven't listened to the album more than once straight through. Um, I listened to it a second time, kind of in spurts, and then I think I want to just kind of let the album kind of sink in slowly. And part of that I think is because I was trying to figure everything out within the first few days of hearing some of those singles and then the album. But really good music, even if you want to try to figure it out, it's so good that it'll just
Yeah,
knock you right out of that active listening, um, mode. It just you just don't care anymore. You're just so into it. And so the first song that did that for me, obviously besides the singles, "Burn the Witch" was great. "Daydreaming" was on a whole different level. It was like a cinematic quality. Plus, I don't know. It probably had something to do with the fact that Paul Thomas Anderson directed the music video, but it just invaded my emotions. I was like a pool of emotion. By the end of I was in my own pool of emotion, like devastated by the song. I don't know. How about you?
I there's yeah. I mean, the first time, like as soon as it came out, like I was refreshing the page, and I was like, I'm ready. I was like with my headphones ready. Okay,
Yeah.
7 p.m. I'm gonna sit down and listen to it. Like 6:56 or whatever. I found because they let it go live like a couple of minutes before, so I managed to actually buy it and get the special edition like a few minutes before the actual before 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm,
Uh,
mm-hmm.
and I sat down and listened to it, and
Four
I was
minutes
like,
before, right? Was it like 4 minutes
yeah, like
before? Yeah, I
two
remember.
minutes before. And then I was like, okay, let's download it, and it was like, okay, so obviously the WAV file, but then yeah, it was just like I was just like, this is. But it was really strange to me that it was all in alphabetical order. Like
Yeah,
the first two tracks that they released were the two singles. The first two tracks in the album were the two singles that they released,
yeah.
and this is really strange.
And I didn't think
Um,
it was possible that they could put "Daydreaming" as the second track. You know,
Yeah, but
it was just.
it wasn't like too cerebral to listen to. You could listen
Mm-hmm,
to it and just sit
mm-hmm.
there and be like, okay, this is good music.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas the King of Limbs obviously was not on that. That was a bit more. It required patience.
Mm, mm,
To
mm,
listen
mm.
to it.
I thought "Bloom" was a great opener for King of
Oh,
Limbs.
definitely. Yeah, I mean
You know.
it's an enjoyable album and Bloom is awesome, but yeah, there were a few songs in there that immediately I was just like full stop, which I'd heard before and not really enjoyed. But
Mm-hmm,
in the
mm-hmm.
same way, but then on the album it's awesome and it's like my favorite song on the album. Identica as well.
Yeah.
True Love Wait, is that like that's how they used to play it live or did play it live?
No,
On
they
because he had the piano out. He always used to play as a closer.
right, but not quite like that. Where there's a little bit of a Latin rhythmic influence in this album too. I think you can hear it, especially in present tense, which if you insert the before present tense or you leave the out of numbers, it becomes perfectly alphabetical, which is strange. Um, but yeah, present tense has a
Yeah, because they really changed it.
yeah,
It
right.
was it was like the first time I remember I was waiting I was waiting for the end of the album because I'd sat there for an hour and I was at the point where I was losing my sort of attention span. I was thinking, when is this album going to be over? And then I was like, so I was waiting because I knew True Love Waits was at the end,
Yeah,
and then it was the intro to True Love Waits was like, oh, this definitely isn't True Love Waits. I was like,
yeah,
hang on,
yeah. And so
this is
true
True
love
Love Waits.
waits. Boom, 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 It's like dun 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 dun. Dun. It's like a very slow, almost like a bossa nova type of rhythm, you know, where you got the one E and E, a 4 and a 1 and E, you know, kind of like that. But there's definitely some Latin influence on it, and I think, yeah, I mean, just to answer your question from way back, is from Daydreaming, right? Like, there in that song, I wanted to hear what was going on and how to play it. Yeah. And then the same thing happened with Dex Dark. I really wanted to figure out what was going on when I was playing it, but the first time I heard it, it was just pure fun for Dex Dark because of the funky ending part, and then maybe pure kind of like feeling and emoting for Daydreaming, you know. And really great stuff can do that to you. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, if you're ready to listen, if you're like relaxed and you're ready to just receive the music, it'll move you, you know, if it's good stuff. Yeah. But yeah, super great album. I don't know, some people are, you know, saying that it beats In Rainbows.
And it really, honestly, as a whole, I never really liked In Rainbows that much. But I mean,
oh man, get ready for the hate comments.
I mean, obviously it's a Radiohead album, so I'm not gonna cheat on it. But it, like, as a whole, I don't enjoy listening to it like the whole thing all the way through. But every album, you know,
straight through.
Computer is still for me like just a listening experience.
So
this is album. But.
And that's interesting that you said your attention span is a little low, where like
I think sitting and listening to music when I'm doing nothing else with my eyes closed, obviously, is quite difficult. So.
Man, you really are a different generation than I am from, because
I don't do.
Every time a new album comes out that I highly anticipate, I do the straight through sitting with my headphones thing, or nice speakers. Yeah, and with In Rainbows, I did it in a dark room. Just with speakers in a dark room with my friend who filmed the first YouTube video on my channel. It's pretty funny. But this is what somebody said last night that I thought was really great. This guy named Romancia Romy. So many shared feelings. There is a very high level, because he watched my first listen of the album, and then he I think he's resonating with some of the things I said as a review. And so he said, so many shared feelings. There's a very high level of sophistication in this album, intertwined with this whole Johnny vibes going on through the orchestra. Been listening to some of the songs over and over, especially Dex Dark, Burn the Witch, and Daydreaming, and it is literally impossible to listen to anything else afterwards. Yeah. Just getting completely immersed in the whole atmosphere of the album, to the point that any other kind of music sounds dull or shallow. Honestly, no one but Radiohead has the power to blow your mind like this, to the extent that you're just not keen on any music except theirs. It's just ... overwhelming. They're just outstanding, unique musicians, and their songs are just above anything else. Really like the comparison with Nolan, because I compared him to Christopher Nolan, right? As being within and outside the industry at the same time. And as a Radiohead and Christopher Nolan fan, I understand the comparison too well, haha. To me, In Rainbows remains the album, though. Oh, so he did say In Rainbows is the album, like the best album of all times. I'm only 20 years old. He's a really young guy, very articulate. But I literally grew up with In Rainbows, and I might have a biased perspective, but gosh, this album is a pure wonder. I totally agree with it being a gift. It is just absolutely mesmerizing and overwhelming, and to me, it just could never, ever be ousted. So I'm wondering if he's saying that about In Rainbows or about this album. This particular... He says the word this, but it sounds like the context is he's referring to In Rainbows. Anyway, thanks for the live reaction. Good to know about other people's opinion on the album, to see that you're not the only one to be so deeply moved by Radiohead's music. Haha, cheers. Yeah, so, I mean, there's a battle now that's going to ensue between I think, you know, In Rainbows and A Moon-Shaped Pool. It's funny that I guess you don't have that same opinion of In Rainbows, but I think it's
Well,
generally pretty widely held as their most accessible, you know,
yeah,
if not their best.
the most accessible, really.
Most accessible. What's more accessible? Oh, maybe what the Bends?
I don't know. I think I have a weird perspective, just because like I only started really listening to Radiohead like a year before. It was like 2010, so it was a year before King of Limbs came out. And my like journey of discovery was like, I don't know, sort of started out sort of quite broad, like
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
a lot of different songs all over the place and not really knowing where they came from, and then sort of moving on. I think it was like Kid A and No Pick and Future that I listened to first, and then I don't think I really came to In Rainbows until a bit later, or like I didn't know it as an album. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why it doesn't have that image in my head. I mean, I enjoy listening to it, but I think I just get a bit bored at various points. I'm not sure why. I think it's just perspective, whatever. But it's weird because like In Rainbows came out when I was, I'm 20 years old as well, so it would have been, the same time, whatever. But I had no interest in music at that point in my life,
Yeah.
and it was only 2010 that I actually started having an interest in music,
I feel
thanks
like
to Radiohead.
I always forget that you're 20. You're incredibly insightful and articulate for a 20-year-old. It must be the people in Europe and England. I'm just used to 20-year-olds here in America. That
Is it different?
the Radiohead.
Well, it's like the teenagers are like their audience almost.
You think so?
Like I think as a like an 18-year-old, 17-year-old, like discovering Radiohead, that's very typical.
Oh, that's a coming of age. It's a sign that you've turned 18.
Well, it's like because I was like a really like moody, depressive teenager. It's like, well, perfect match for Radiohead. Perfect match for like vaguely like having some vague political ideas and like vague social ideas, and just being like, oh well, Radiohead is talking about all this stuff.
Yeah, this is the truth. This is the truth, right?
I mean, like the only music that I listen to that like made me like reassess like my life. I'm not like if, as soon as I listen to it, I'm just like, I should probably be doing more for the sake of art and stuff. Like, that makes Radiohead made me think that, because like they seem to be focused on art and sort of making things for the sake of artistic purity almost.
Yeah, doing something not just because it sells, but because it's beautiful. It needs to be done. This music needs to be written and it needs to be shared. That's kind of what I sort of liken to, Christopher Nolan making the movie Inception and like Interstellar. He's not doing it to make money.
He also makes really successful films, doesn't he? And they're huge, but he's still an artist.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good comparison, actually. Chris Nolan,
thank you.
Radiohead.
Thank you. Definitely not Michael Bay of music. More Chris Nolan than
the Michael Bay
Bay.
of music, like Oasis.
Coldplay.
Noel
Right
Gallagher.
now?
Did you see Noel Gallagher's comments?
I think early on Michael Bay did some interesting things, or maybe James Cameron. Okay, James Cameron of the music industry now is Coldplay. Early on, James Cameron did Terminator 2. That was one of the most impressive.
Alien.
That's Ridley Scott, actually. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, Alien was Ridley Scott.
Oh! You mean the sequel?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So
Ridley Scott is also a weird sort of, makes some amazing films, makes some really awful films, and you can't really have no idea which one it's going to be.
yeah, when you go to the theater, which Ridley Scott am I getting today?
Is it going to be the really deep, really just intense, like Alien? Alien, how amazing is Alien as a film?
Yeah.
But then he
Agreed.
did, what was the most recent one? Gods and something. The Egyptian one.
Egypt one. I didn't even bother seeing it. I kind of knew, right?
There's a lot of like comparisons of different artists. So
For sure. I mean, like Coldplay started great for a couple albums, and For some people, they fell out of love with them as soon as the second album came out. They loved the first album, immediately hated the second. It took me more time to start to lose my taste for them. It was like somewhere in the third album, I kind of lost them. They fell out of favor with me.
There's a few songs that I do like, but
No.
after the first album was good. But, yeah.
So I don't know who's the Michael Bay of music just yet.
I don't know if I know any Michael Bay fans to make a good comparison with.
Transformers.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
The cash cow. Yeah, I see.
Yeah. But so shall we talk? Music, learning, theory, ear training. I definitely am glad I could share some back and forth about LP9 after its first week.
Which is your favorite? Which is not favorite, but I'm trying to say like which song do you sort of at the moment like appreciate most of the album?
I just can't do it where I am picking, But at the moment, the infectious one that I've decided, sort of chosen to give my attention, is Dex Dark.
That one sort of went past me a little bit. I mean, I liked it, but at the moment for me, it's Full Stop.
Okay.
And it's just the way that it starts out, like it just sounds like someone jamming in their garage, and then it fades in with the treble.
Right. The drums kind of sound like they're being played in a can at first,
yeah.
Right?
But then it's also just like emotionally, like I find it really moving.
Yeah. This very, very like, in a can, and then all of a sudden towards the end you got the what is it? Where? That's something.
Yeah,
only
that and
Tom. There it is.
That and the first line start identikit are the one like I find myself like walking home and just like singing in the street. It's really strange.
That's cool. No, that's cool. I really like that. Someone said that they could hear him singing a moon-shaped pool over and over again in Identikit.
That's where the title comes from.
I don't hear that.
You get maybe like an In Rainbows thing where it's actually where he's singing it.
Yeah. Even that, like, I don't think I ever listened that closely to the point where I could hear that, but
I can never recognize it.
In rainbows.
Yeah, that's where it goes.
Yeah. But he's mumbling, so.
Anyway.
Yeah, so Full Stop, Identikit, those are two songs that you're really into. Is there anything from the album maybe that you'd like to even dive into a little bit today? You're trying to break it down. Okay, yourself before the whole live stream thing happened. Yeah.
Well, as soon as I heard it, I was sort of trying to break it down, but like trying to understand it a bit more musically.
Yeah, great choice. And what did you find as you were listening to it? What kind of stuck out to you first? The melody, the harmony, the rhythm?
It's the fact that it's such a simple melody, like made it feel accessible to me initially. I think it's mostly just the piano melody that really sticks in my head.
The repeating group of three notes type of thing? Yeah. So did you figure that out on the guitar?
I figured out the intro part.
Cool.
And the first verse, but then I haven't yet tried to approach the
that part's really tough.
Yeah.
That part's really tough. Yeah. So the way that I did it, I took a risk and tried to do it on camera, and it was tricky. And one of the things that I think I started to uncover, which can help you a little bit, is there was a pattern to the shape of the melody. So there was a shape, meaning that it descended by a certain amount, if you go down this number of scale degrees in the particular scale
in the chorus part.
In the chorus part, right? So if you go down a certain number of scale degrees, it goes down a sixth, for example.
Yeah.
Okay?
So I can sort of hear the bass note of the left hand part.
Right.
Almost.
Well, that doesn't come in the first time. That kind of comes in a little bit later.
Yeah, and I can sort of hear where it's going, but then and I can sort of hear the rhythm of the melody, and where it's changed.
Right. Right.
Like I can sort of hear that it's like.
There's something that keeps evolving, but something about it that stays the same, right? So there's a shape to the melody. This can help you out when you're figuring it out. There's a shape, meaning it's going to descend, and then it's going to ascend, and then it's going to skip up. So it's going to step up, and then it's going to skip up, and then it's going to come down, and then, if I remember correctly, it does da 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 da, and then da 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 da, where it's going to skip down, and then step down, and skip up, and step up. So it does this thing where it goes da 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 da, and it's really hard to play, but it kind of ends up sounding like. Sorry. You see what I mean?
Yeah, there's just a lot more going on. I've not really tried to approach it too much yet. But I was just sort of wondering, like, the perspective of like the overall harmony of like the intro part, because it seems like there's some like chords which aren't, or like arpeggiated chords which aren't something I recognize or something I would know how to describe, because it's like the first one is like 2, 3, and 6, right? Mm-hmm. With the 6 in the bass. If it's in C major, right?
I would say it's more in the key of A minor, A major, minor type of thing. But if you were in the key of C, the beginning would be a 6, 2, 3, 6 in the right hand, right? It's all relationship. And the thing that starts it off, you kind of hear the piano fade in a little bit with the F in the bass, right? And so the F in the key of C would be the 4. So you have a 4 chord with a 2, a 3, and a 6 if we're in the key of C. Okay? Yeah. But just so I don't forget, just to help you later with the instrumental chorus, okay? Just remember what I said. If you want to figure it out on your own, great. Remember what I said. I'm trying to help here. If you want my help, you know.
Don't spoil it.
Just big spoiler. Okay, big spoiler. But there's something that saved me a lot of time, and it didn't require ingenuity. It didn't require ear training. It was more just, I wish I listened closer to more of the song rather than try to figure out note for note. You would actually hear that there's a shape that stays the same, but the key changes. And there are very minimal actual alterations of the pattern itself in terms of the shape of the melody. It's more like when it changes keys, it just flips. It flips from maybe this note down a half step, this note up a half step, and you'll start to see some. Exactly. So get the shape of the melody, and that'll save you a lot of time. But if we go over to the piano, kind of like do this. How about I'll do it?
I've never seen like the interior of your room this cold.
It's not that impressive. Well, actually, you know what? It does look nice in the sense where, you know, Ellen helped me kind of organize it. It was much less space efficient before. But can you see the piano now?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like you can really see what I'm playing, per se. Get some of this gear over here. But if you're talking about the chord, what is the chord, right? You're kind of interested in the chord right now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just the
Right?
Yeah.
So the thing, let me bring this microphone over here. Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Not really. Is that plugged in? Because it sounds almost the same.
Oh, it might be recording from the internal microphone. If it records from the internal microphone, it's gonna be a lot of noise. But oh well. Maybe we use this as a recording, maybe not.
It sounds okay.
Can you hear the noise of the fan?
Yeah.
It's really loud, huh?
It's not. It just sounds like static. It's not too loud.
Okay.
It's not that loud.
So anyway, the chord here, if we were to put it together as a chord, this would be the root. And the third is going to be way over here. Even though it's broken up, the third sort of appears right with the root. Right?
So with the bass as
The F.
F.
Right, so you have an F here and a high A, and the relationship between these two is kind of like a tenth plus another octave. So it's like a third plus 2 octaves.
So it is a third relationship.
Right? If you hear this, root, second, third, octave, octave. So it's a third, but 2 octaves higher.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't know if you can see me there. So a third, but 2 octaves. And then you also have a fifth in the left hand. Usually that thickens it up whenever Tom's playing piano. A lot of people play this way on the piano, where you just play a fifth above the root to sort of give the chord a little bit more stability. Right, you hear that? So that C is going to be the fifth of the chord. So if you have a root, a third, and a fifth, we have a major chord, right? So major first, did you say?
Sorry, no, I said, because you said one and I thought, okay.
Oh, yeah, no, so just a major chord, right? It's just a major chord. But if you were to make the other notes part of the chord as well, since it's kind of going, what is this note right here? It's a, can you tell me without me telling you?
So that's in the first chord.
In the first chord of the song, right? What is that note? What is the relationship between that note and this root?
So it's a D, right?
It is a D. It is a D. But by ear, can you tell me the difference between ba and da? This note right here. If I sing it up an octave, it'll sound like it's here, right? What is the relationship between this and this?
So we're doing just the F to D relationship. Right?
That relationship. But not in theory, but by ear. Can you sing it root and then what is this mystery note? If you sing up the... Oh wow, you sang the 2 octaves. Almost 2 octaves. Very, very impressive. I can't sing a low F.
I just have quite it's not real.
So how many, like if you were to scale degrees in between, right? What is the relationship of this note to this? What are you looking at right now?
I'm just trying to like visualize in my head. So it's 2 octaves plus whatever F to D is.
No, it's not 2 octaves plus whatever F to D is. So you're thinking about the theory of it, right? The relationship between F to D. What I want you to do is sing from F. Sing a major scale from F. Da da da. Like keep singing the scale up so you can tell me what the relationship is in degrees.
So it's from an F, which is
Uh-huh. There it this, but up an octave, right? There you go. What degree is that now? If we were in the key of F.
So, 6.
6. It's a 6. So D. So we have this chord. So now we have the third way up. It's like a 10th plus an octave, which would be a 17th technically, right? But nobody thinks that way. It's a 17th, aka a third of the chord, right? A compound third. So we have a third followed by a what? A 6th, right? It's a 6th. So D is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And guess what else this sounds like? What is this? Please excuse me, but I got to ask. Okay, it's in a different key. It's in a different key. The original eraser starts here. You hear it now? So anyway, the same thing is happening with these 4 notes here. But there's another note added to this. So if this is the 6, with this.
It's
The 7th. So it's an F major, but then we add a 6th, and then we add a 7th, okay? So what people would normally call this would be an F major 7 because you have a root, a 3rd, a 5th, and a 7th, and then you add a 13, or you add a 6. So F major 7 add 6, F major 7 add 13 would be kind of the most common names for that chord. If you were to say F13, some people might call it that, but F13, especially in jazz circles, can imply some other notes like the 9th, or maybe in some cases the sharp 11. So
you were playing 5 notes though.
I was playing 5 notes: F, C in the left hand, D, E, A in the right hand.
I didn't get the C.
Yeah, so the C is not really too audible. It's just kind of part of that block in the left hand. It's the block.
There was like a sort of harmony in the left hand, but I couldn't really hear it.
Yeah. It's tough because a 5th, number 1, has some of the same harmonics as the root, right? Whatever 5th and whatever root, when you play them together, it's like they're kind of almost one note. But you can hear the difference if I play these 2 without the 5th, and then now hear these 2 with the 5th. It's a little bit more substantial, right? So you have so the right hand here didn't change, right? What changed instead?
So it's just the left hand part that changes.
From where to where? It goes F, and then the root and 5th of the F going to say what?
It transposes by 2 whole steps.
By 2 whole steps. It goes up 2 whole steps. The left hand, the entire left hand actually, because you didn't have the 5th before, but there's also a 5th in this chord as well. So it goes up 2 whole steps. Very good. Very good job. And you go. This is pretty cool. I like this because the right hand doesn't change, the left hand changes. So what happens now is the relationships hitting your ear affect how you color this chord differently than the original chord, because the right hand's relationship has shifted because of how the left hand has colored the notes in the right hand. So if you have an A and you have an E and that's your root and 5th, then what is this high A? It's just another the second chord. If you have A and E, what is the highest A now in relation to this chord? Which chord degree is it now? Yeah, within the chord. Just the root, right? Another root
Okay.
of the chord, okay? And it is the one of the key if we're in the key of A, right? Which I think we are. Dreamers, right? This is the one chord they never learn. They never learn. If I just play all the chords all together, they sound really beautiful. Um, before it's too late. Something, I don't remember the words there. Pretty nice, right? Just without even breaking anything up melodically. So we have another root. How about this D now? What is this relationship to this? If this is the root, what is this? Bum bum. I know you can tell me the relationship between A and D, but can you sing it? Yeah, so what is that? Root. Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Uh, four.
Fourth. The fourth of the chord, right? So the D is the fourth of the chord. So it's an A. So far we don't know if it's major or minor because the third has disappeared, right? The A here used to be the third of the F chord, but now it's a root. So the third has disappeared. We don't know whether it's major or minor yet. And this becomes the four, the D becomes the four, the chord, and what is this? If this is the four, this is the fifth of the chord. So now we have two fifths, left hand, right hand, two roots, left hand, right hand, and the fourth. So now all we have information-wise is root, fourth, fifth. There's a name for that, and it's just a sus4, right?
So sus4 is root, fourth, and fifth.
Right. Sus4, because what you're doing is you're suspending the listener from hearing the third, so that there's no C, there's no C sharp. We don't know whether it's a major or minor chord, right? Now, there is a little bit of something that can imply whether it would be a major or a minor chord. In most cases, you could just listen to the notes that came before it in a previous chord, or listen to notes in the chord that came after the chord to sort of tell what would be implied by a sus chord. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So an A sus4 could be an A major suspended, or it could be an A minor suspended, depending on what context was around it. And I would say this is mostly true when songs don't change key. When they change key, or if you're in Radiohead's case, or in a lot of bands that really understand music theory and kind of employ different modes and different scales depending on where you are in the song, and even multiple modes or scales within a single four-chord chord progression, then you can't assume so quickly. But if you did assume, we have a C or a C sharp already in the song. We have a flat third or a third somewhere in the song, right? Where did it come from? It was in the first chord. So if we continued that sound and we left over and let it linger into the new chord, it would imply what type of chord? C relationship to A, right? If A is the root of the second chord and we let the C bleed into it, what would our ear think?
So it's a third relationship.
A flat third.
Flat third.
Flat third, right? Because a third would be what note?
C sharp.
C sharp. So it is not an A major implied by this A sus4. It's actually A minor implied by the A sus4.
Okay.
Okay.
Check all the relationships.
You took a big deep breath there. What did you?
Yeah, it's just because I'm still like, because I thought it was in C major, so I'm just sort of, which
Right.
knows that, which knows that.
So if you think about it, if you're still thinking of it in C major, that still makes sense that the A would be a minor chord because A is normally not a major chord in the key of C, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because in the key of C, you have A minor because A, C, E forms a minor chord and C is obviously a note in the key of C. You wouldn't use C sharp in the key of C, right? So C is the only C there is in the key of C. There's no C sharp. So you have this where you got an F major 7, add 6, or add 13, followed by an A sus4, but it's implied that it's minor. And I'll play it with the minor note so you can see how it sounds. We could play it both ways. We can play it. Sounds correct, doesn't it? It sounds like it fits in the world of the song. You know what I mean? So if we go back and I'll play it the other way, you'll hear what I'm talking about. That it doesn't imply a major. Because it'll go. It sounds cool, right? But that's not quite how it is. Last high in, okay? Last high in. It's too much, too bright, too powerful, too much, too bright, too powerful. Well, I think I got the chord progression wrong. Sorry. So they still do an A sus4 in Rainbow's days in Last Flowers. And Last Flowers probably predates in Rainbows, right? But the way they record it there is an A sus4. And that A sus4 implies a major chord rather than implies a minor chord. So it's possible that even though you have a sus4, it implies a major, it implies a minor that it would resolve to. It's really weird. And you wouldn't be able to know because of the context in Last Flowers. What's this followed by? It's followed by a C. So you would think normally that A would imply a minor chord if a C chord followed it. But like I said, you can't assume that for every case because in Radiohead's case, he sings too bright, too power, that's a major fall, too much. So you're switching between A major, or it's kind of like an A major minor scale, which some people call the A Mixolydian flat 6. And then you go to A minor, A minor, A major minor, A major minor, A minor, A minor, A major minor. But here we just have straight up A minor. Dreamers, why he's singing the sea, dreamers. Later on he reveals the A minor operative C note, right? Dreamers, they never learn. So far we have an F major 7, add 13. Or F major 7, add 6. I'm going to write that in our Skype chat. F major 7, add 6. Okay? And that's going to be followed by an A sus4. It's kind of like an A minor. It's like an A minor.
I love how that just doesn't describe the chord at all. I mean, it does, but
it does. It does.
I never think to play what they play.
And they break it up. When they break it up, suddenly the chord becomes very melodic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have this, and then this right hand moves down, right? Instead of this relationship here, instead of, it becomes, what is this in relation to F as the root?
Is it like an octave?
It's close. Sing an octave. Bum bum is an octave, but we hit bum bum.
So it's like a 7.
Is it bigger than an octave or smaller than an octave? Because the seventh is smaller than an octave. Bum bum octave bum bum. It's a what?
It's higher than an octave.
Yeah. Bum bum.
I'm not sure if it's a 1 or like a 9 or a 10.
9 or 10. So a 10 would have been. That's 8, 9, 10. So that was the original. So if the 10th is the original, what is this one? This one was the 9th. So it's a F9, add 9 so far. We don't know if it's major or minor, but we know from the context that it's a major chord, okay? Does that make sense? It would imply major, just because of the context.
Just about.
Right? Because that A was there the first time around, and the A is pervasive throughout the first 2 chords of the songs. Throughout the first 2 chords of the song. So the A is still lingering in our ear when we're playing this new chord without the A. So it's still implying that a minor would be there. We could sing it. When I hear this chord, I sing this note, it sounds just fine. It wouldn't make sense if suddenly it went an F minor. This does not fit with the song, so implied chord from here to here to here. We don't suddenly forget about this note. This note was still in the past 2 chords. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so F with the 9th. And now what is this? We're doubling the 5th. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if this is the 9th and the 5th, what is this? Here's the 5th, here's the... Da 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 da. You're counting down from the 9?
Yeah.
9, 8, 7, 6.
So it's 6.
6. It's also a whole step from the 5th, 5th and 6th. I was trying to help you out from below, but you went from above. Just had to make things more difficult for yourself. So we have an F6-9. They call it a 6-9. Or F add 6, F add 9, F add 6, 9, F6-9. Okay? So F6-9, it's implying a major chord. So what we would write is F major and then 6-9, and then you have no third. Okay? This is painfully obvious to people who know music theory and are steeped in it that it would be a major chord, but I like to put things like really, really clearly in writing because a lot of people are reading this without a theory background. So the chord name starts to be a lot more clear so that if someone is kind of just getting into music theory, that it isn't like, where's the, I thought a chord was a third. I thought a major chord had a root third fifth, you know what I mean? And then it gets really confusing. But anyway, so you have, and it's not confusing anymore at all, right? Not at all, right? And so now we have F6-9, and then what? We have This is a very interesting chord because after F and C with the F6/9, FC moved down to the whole left hand moves down by how much?
It's a whole step.
Half step
Half step.
would be a whole step. It goes.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so just very little. So F and C move down to which two notes? You can tell me. What note names would those two notes be?
F and C from the first chord.
Moving down a half step. So what are the new notes here?
E and B.
Correct. Awesome. So root being E, the root being E, and then the fifth being B. What do you call? Now this is such a big distance, I like to bump it up an octave, you know, to kind of help my ear.
Right.
And then I can go, how many octaves? 2 octaves higher, and we go. What's that relationship? Root. Not a third? Flat third. So we have an E and a B and a flat third, which is a G, okay? And we know that that G carries over because the same, that didn't change, right? So we're using theory to kind of confirm what our ear is hearing too. So that's a good tip for ear training and theory, how they go together, right? So you have E, B, G. High G is the flat third of the chord. So what does that make this chord? E, B, and G. E, G, B.
Is it an E minor?
Yeah.
E major?
E minor, right? E minor. So you have an E, a B, and a G. There's no C in the chord yet.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no C in the chord yet. Okay. So as far as this simple combination of notes goes, it's a different voicing of an E minor in that the G is removed and thrown up a couple octaves, right? So then we add the C. And what is the C's relationship to the E? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is that? Flat 6. It sounds super dissonant. If I were to put the chord up an octave in the left hand, you would hear this. That half step is super dissonant, but when it's removed over an octave, that dissonance I feel like is even more accentuated. So you have a flat 6 and the fifth of the chord, the B and the C, rubbing together, okay, for a little brief moment. That chord is tense. You can hear it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. A little bit more painful almost, you know. And then so if you have a flat 6 here, what is this?
I've lost track now.
So if this were the flat 6, what would this be in relation to this? What's the relationship here?
It's like a 2, like a whole step.
It's just a whole step, right? If this were the 1, this would be the 2. It's correct thinking. Very good ear. So if it's a flat 6 of the chord, then what does that make this?
Flat 7.
Correct. So we have an E minor 7, add flat 6. E minor 7, add flat 6.
Okay.
Or add flat 13, however you want to call it. Okay? Is this making sense so far? So E minor 7 is that quick name because you have a minor and then you have the 7th. So root, flat 3rd, 5th, 7th, flat 7th, all out of order still is an E minor 7 chord. But we're now adding the flat 6. Super, super dissonant, right? And then the entire thing moves down to what? Everything moves down to what happened here? Everything shifts by. What's that? Whole step, right?
Yeah.
So, and then this became this. So you have, so what does that make the next chord? Just change the first letter from E to
Oh, right. Okay. So D minor.
D minor 7 add flat 6, right? So that's easy because if you can hear, like I said, later on in the song, this happens too, right? If you hear the same thing, but it's just moving, you can keep some of the things that you know about the previous thing when you hear the next thing, right? So you're hearing the connection between this chord and then the last chord. This note stays the same, right? What changes this note doesn't change this note. That changes. Right, so we have
So there's a flat half step with that one note.
that half step. You have an F, B flat, C, go to a F, B, C. But now this note in the left hand, goes up to here. What is this relationship? It's here comes the bride. Here comes the bride, I mean. Da 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 da. Can you hear this? So that's a fourth from D. What's a fourth from D?
E sharp. No.
D is 1, what's 2?
A. Sorry, D.
If D is 1, what is 2?
E.
What is 3?
F sharp.
What's 4?
G. Right.
G, okay. No problem. So we have a G, a D in the left hand because we still have this fifth thing pervasive throughout. Root, fifth. What is this?
Just an oct. No.
No. This would be an octave. This is... It's a kind of nasty sound almost.
It's like a flat 8. What is it?
That's just a half step down from 8.
So it's a 7. Okay, so it's a 7.
It's a flat 7. Because the 7 and the 8 are just a half step, so you wouldn't call this one. This would be a flat 7, right?
Why did I say flat 8? That makes no sense.
Yeah, right. I didn't want to correct you there, but good job. So you have a flat 7, a root, a fifth, a flat 7, and then What is this? Root. This is what relationship to the root. Here is a note and here's a note. Getting some ear fatigue, huh?
It's just a third.
Just a third. Were you overthinking it?
Yeah, definitely overthinking it.
So if this is the third, then what is this?
4 or 5?
What do you hear?
Half step.
Just a half step, right? Or semitone. Okay, so we got half step above the third is the
Yeah.
fourth. So we have a G major, because we have a G, a third, and a fifth, and then out of order, the third is above. And then we have a flat 7, G7, add 4. G7 add 4 to G add 4. Because the 7 goes, flat 7 goes to the root of the chord. Everything stays the same there. So what you have is a G7 add 4 to a G add 4. And then you have some like a G7 add 4 again. And then you have melodic movement. Bum, 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 bum. And then you start the song. Moving back. Moving back. Moving back. Now, your homework. Play it on the guitar.
I can.
Of course you can. Well, you have all the information you need.
No, I mean, no, and that wasn't a question. That was like a hesitant I can. But I don't know if it's like, you're going to be like, no, that's totally inaccurate. Obviously, I can't. So I can't play the harmonic left hand because I didn't hear that.
What do you mean?
Did I play what I have?
No. I'm asking if your homework this week, if you're cool with the challenge of translating these chords onto the guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I've been able to play the introduction on guitar fairly well, but then whether or not it's accurate.
Sure. So what I'd like for you to try then is to incorporate all of the information that you can. Now, if you can't, you can't, right? But you have to give it a shot first before you say that you can't, okay? So translating this to the guitar.
Key of A major.
No. The key of A minor. There is no A major in this, unless we're playing Last Flowers. No major A major in this so far. You know what I mean? So the entire song so far, if you were to analyze every note in every chord, it produces C major or A minor. And A minor makes more sense here because the A is that tonic. It has that gravity to it. It pulls you in, right? That magnetism. The A gives resolution to the song. And then the only thing that kind of distances itself from A, okay, is the D minor 7 add flat 6, because D minor 7 add flat 6 has a B flat in it. So for a brief micro, like a measure, you have a B flat where there used to be a B. So if instead of a B you have a B flat, you have an A minor scale. What happens to A minor, A natural minor scale, when you throw in a flat 2 in it? What mode?
What happens to A minor with a flat 2?
Yeah, A minor with a flat 2. What mode do we know uses a flat 2, but the rest of it is just a minor scale?
Do you know what? I'm not going to guess. I'm going to check the.
Good.
Which one is it?
Good.
Diatonic. No.
Modes. The modes page.
Oh, modes.
You've got the modes reference.
I can't remember.
You got your cheat
So with
sheet.
a flat 2.
There are 2 modes with a flat 2, but only one of them looks like the minor scale. Right, only one of them resembles the minor scale and could be possibly confused for the minor scale because Locrian lacks the stability.
Yeah, so Phrygian is a minor.
That's
character.
right.
Okay.
Minor character mode with a flat 2. So those are the similarities there. You have, for a micro measure of the song, you have A Phrygian.
Yeah, I don't imagine it. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's Locrian at all.
Yeah, no, not Locrian, because you have a flat 5 in Locrian. That sounds super unstable. So the 5 in the A would be an E, and we clearly see an E, right? And the E is reinforced even by the melody in the end of the thing leading up to the first verse where he's singing, right? So if you wanted to solo, if you wanted to write a melody, A natural minor is the way to go until you get to the D minor 7 at flat 6, and then A Phrygian would be the way to go, and then you go back as soon as the B pops back into the song. Where does the B pop back into the song? Where it used to be B flat for the Phrygian, where does it go back to B? The very next chord, because G7 has a B. So 1, 2, 3, 4 chords in A natural minor, and then the 5th chord is in A Phrygian. And then the 7th, 8th, 9th, and then the melody are A natural minor. So you have 8 chords in A natural minor and 1 chord in A Phrygian. And so these are things that you take into account if you are writing a melody. You could avoid the B or B flat conundrum completely, or you can decide to embrace it. And both are equally valid from a theory perspective.
So is the left hand always the root?
Root 5th, root 5th, root 5th, root 5th, root 5th, root 5th, root 5th. It's just a thing, you know, because the root by itself sometimes sounds a little too lonely. And when you add the 5th, there's more substance, right? A little bit more of it goes with the chord. And plus the harmonic series of the 5th and the root are very, very similar. So, there you go.
Cool.
Any questions?
Plenty, but I'm sure big enough.
Very cool. I think this was a lot of fun doing this chord analysis. Hopefully it wasn't too torturous for you.
It's moving from it's like a lot of context switching in my head.
From C to A, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean there's that, and then there's also flowing between each chord and trying to keep track of the relationships. Like my head just isn't in that.
So all the stuff that we did today, we did it by ear, and then went straight to writing down a chord name. In fact, our usual method is actually a lot easier because we're taking chunks and chunks and chunks and doing single scale degrees and writing those down on a grid before we decide to call the chord what it is, right? When you get a chord name is a summary of a lot of different information. But when you get to hear notes, single notes, and write down those single notes the way we normally do it, the way we've been doing it for Aphex Twin, October 14th, David Bowie, Sound of Vision, 2013. I don't know how many songs we've been doing it differently, where we do single scale degrees, right? So we just did single scale degrees and kept adding and adding and adding and adding on to create the whole chord, and then wrote down the name of the chord. That's a lot of different steps to hold.
Yeah, it's good to do it top level and understand the relationships initially.
Yeah.
But it's just very difficult.
Because you're holding a lot in your hand. It's like doing long division. You know.
It is mathematical. It's really strange. There's a lot of maths in music.
Yeah. Well, in America, we just simplify it as math.
Music is math. Words of Canada.
Math.
But but it's mathematics.
Yeah.
It's still cool, but yeah, whatever.
But it's still aluminum. Why is it aluminium?
Because scientifically it's aluminium. That's the scientific name of the substance.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
still written.
Then
Like,
why doesn't England switch to the metric system?
we do use the metric system,
Not entirely.
except for we don't use kilometers for distance. We still use them. I mean, America doesn't use metrics at all.
At all.
At all.
At all. And then Americans don't put the R at the end of a word, like ending in a vowel. Idea and, not idea and.
I just don't even hear it. Like American accents and American, it's like everything in code is when I'm like programming is always with Americanisms,
Yeah.
and it's just like I'm so used to it now. It's just I know how to switch from American to English.
That's what it's like when America kind of, exports all this culture everywhere.
Yeah,
It's just
I don't even hear it. If someone has an American accent, I don't hear it.
interesting. I hear the English accent. And
Yeah, I hear
notice it.
English accents.
Oh,
If
wow.
someone on the if like a YouTube video is with an English person, then I'll recognize that they're English. But if they're American, it just seems normal.
Yeah. Oh, that's so weird. You know how in YouTube comments they say greetings from Portugal, greetings from Spain. Nobody says greetings from America because it's assumed that they're in America when they write the comment. I think it's really weird. It's really weird how centric to America it is. But anyway,
The internet is very American. Yeah.
very true. Very true. So we'll call it a day. In 2 weeks, Josh, I'm wondering if you're free on a day other than Wednesday because that's when I'm getting married.
Oh, have you already arranged? Oh shit, yeah, you have. Oh yeah, you have, haven't you? Because I remember you were.
It's the City Hall civil ceremony.
Application and everything.
Say what?
You set the website.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So we have a little website there, Ellen and Warren.
2 weeks.
So in 2 weeks, I mean, I assume we're still on for next week at the same time, right?
Yeah. So I'm free. Yeah, I'm free every day that week anyway in the evening. That's fine.
How about, can you do Monday?
Yeah.
Let's do Monday the 23rd. It'll be a short week.
At 9.
Okay? At 9 your time.
Right. Yeah.
Very good.
I'll keep track of.
So I'll edit this, I'll put it together and throw it up there, and if you want to check it before if I publish it, if I decide to publish it, to make sure your hair looks nice and all that.
Oh, I like when you realize that you're spending far too long looking at the. I realized my eye contact was just like for a long time was just on like my little picture in the corner, like trying to like.
Yeah. So you can review it if you like. If otherwise, if you're comfortable.
I'm not particularly like precious fan of that, so it's fine.
Okay.
Cool.
Awesome. Let me stop the recording.